We're in the final stages of building the monster chopper, so this week I'm gonna build a rear fender so I don't get sucked into the tire on the first test drive, and shave down the tires because last time the test drive didn't go so well because I couldn't turn. I can't steer! This is a cheapy Amazon tire groover, and basically this is a heater. This is like a soldering iron essentially. Makes that blade get super hot and then it just cuts like butter. Like this. That didn't work very well. Might need some rethinking of that. Hey, on the plus side, it's weight reduction! We're gonna take a couple pounds off of these tires. We'll have to weigh the shavings when we're done.
And that's rotational mass.
It is.
It's even better.
It's rotational mass and unsprung mass.
Yes.
And it's the rotational mass all the way at the outside edge. So,
yeah,
it's gonna make it easier to steer for two reasons. The gyroscope gets lighter, and it's more slopey and rounded. So, my last blade kind of got all floppy and failed. So this time I tried welding and I made little tabs on this. It's not very deep. I should have made it deeper for the cut, but it does do kind of the whole width of a tread. Well, if I can keep it cut straight. All in one go. So that's nice.
Yeah, that seems like it's working pretty well. Ethan?
What?
I bestow upon you evidence of our sparkling water habits.
Ah. The necklace of sparkliness and hydration.
Spicy waters.
This is like, I don't know, my fourth blade that I've made for this, and also the best. I made it a little bit deeper, let the corners be a little bit more rounded so it's not as brittle, and just, you know, generally perfected it. So, it turns out that obviously it wouldn't work for removing large amounts of material, but that's what the tire groover is for. A brand new sanding pad works quite well to smooth it out. Look at that. Unsmoothed, smoothed. And then I aired up the tire a little bit. It was, I don't know what it was at. It was low enough to not read on the gauge. So I aired it up to about 20 PSI, which helps round out the middle a little bit too. And if you look at that, like that's a pretty reasonable profile. I got so used to seeing it all flat that it's gonna take some getting used to, but I think it should make it a lot easier to lean it. So much weight reduction. That's only half of it. Come look at there's a whole other pile over here.
Oh yeah.
Only took most of a day to round it all over and sand it down. I think that looks quite nice. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I can see the difference.
Nevertheless, though, much easier to lean, and that's with only one tire done. Should be a lot easier to drive. Boom. Now that the tire is the shape that it's gonna be, I've decided that I'm gonna make this fender different. Again, so fender Mark III. I think I'm gonna go maybe 4 to 6 inches longer, and then I'm gonna make it wrap around to basically the edge of these lugs. So I'm gonna add some width on either side. Originally, I thought that would just look too chunky, but now that it's rounded, I think it'll help it look more fender-like. It'll also help it be more rigid because this shape is like just not that rigid. Once I finish messing around with the fender, I will start in on the last bits of the tank, which is welding this on and then figuring out how to get the fuel pump in there. Many things to do.
Many important things to do, right? Like this.
So I've got the rough outline here. Now I'm just kind of playing with some different ideas. Now that it's bigger, I'm not sure I like this exact like pointy bit. So I was thinking about maybe doing some sort of more of a like swoop. Very nice. Chungus fender is a chungus. Much work to do. Slowly but well, actually more like slowly but unsurely. I really got the hang of making little bits and pieces like this, but I have not had a lot of practice making a ginormous fender, so, you know, a little bit at a time, we'll figure it out. I have to try as hard as I can to change this thing's direction. That's the most extreme example of a gyroscope I've ever felt. Like, right now, just do this. That was literally, I was pushing as hard as I could this way to get it to rotate because of how fast it was spinning.
Wow. Starting to look like a fender.
Edwin and Will are still in Florida, but I just got some very exciting news. I'm gonna try and call him. Yo.
How's it cracking, man?
Oh, pretty good. Is Will there with you?
Yeah, he is.
Put it on speaker real quick.
What are they telling us?
I'll give you guys 2 guesses.
Is the chopper running?
No.
Humvee.
Yup. It's Humvee time.
Are they ready?
They are ready to be picked up.
Oh,
Yeah, that's looking great.
What do you think? Is it good? Does that fender look good? You're a fender right now. A doggo fender. What do you think? No? Come on, you can do it. Come on. I need your opinion on the fender. Look, fender, is it good? What do you think? You like the fender? Is it a doggo approved fender? Huh? The dog opinions were inconclusive, but I think that's starting to look pretty nice. Last night, I messed around with some of the previous iterations of fender, and I did a combination of hammering and bead rolling and did this. So I folded about 1/2 inch over on the edge, and it, one, looks very nice and clean as a finished edge, and two, makes it considerably stronger, which is what we need. I also practiced on this attempted fender just to have some more practice and to know how it was going to work without that other style of bead roll that was already on there. And it works quite well. Of course, these corners here are the hardest because all that metal has to shrink into the corner as it folds around. So I messed around with like this side, I just cut it with the grinder so it could fold in on itself. And that totally works. I wanted some practice because I just spent pretty much a whole day shaping this fender. And it looks very minty and I would hate to ruin it. Hence the practicing. I found that using this backstop as a guide kind of worked, but only when the corners were convex. The concave corners, which there are plenty of on that fender, it spans here to here and it pushes it farther away. See, that just makes a backstop against this die so that as I'm bead rolling the fender through there, I can just run it right into that stop. So before I start bead rolling this, I just have to make some final adjustments. One, I'm gonna take it and smooth the edges out just a little more. It's pretty close, but there's a few little spots. And then on the tips here, I have to kind of figure out how much, or how it's gonna need to be cut, being able to fold it over. So that way you can see as those fold over, they kind of fill in that gap. Anyway, onward to the belt grinder. Now comes the stressful part.
The moment of truth.
This isn't the moment of truth. This is just the moment of, I don't know, something. Nice. Well, there's the first edge. I think I'm gonna do 2 passes on each edge. Backstop is running into this. It's a little bit too big in diameter. Well, we have the technology to fix that. I'm gonna go ahead and make a guard for it. So obviously this is the crusty radiator. I'm gonna use it just as a sort of a design template, and I think I can I'll design a guard that, goes over the front here, probably with many small hexagons. And it should help keep rocks out of the radiator, and it'll look cool. And I'm gonna get it cut out by Xometry, because plasma cutter just is not detailed enough to cut out that many itty bitty hexagons in that kind of quality, and I don't have any stainless steel, which obviously, why not cut it out of stainless? So, design it, and then we'll head over to Xometry and order it up. Got these tabs sticking out the top that should be the right length to bend bend and bolt to this. This tab will just come out and then have a tab that sticks sideways that'll bend that way.
Once again, it is that time.
Look at all those hexagons. Part's all designed, now I just have to export it and get it over to Xometry, and then we'll have a radiator guard. We've got our instant quote here for the radiator guard from Xometry. Let's see. They have just about every material you can imagine, but I want specifically stainless steel. They've got aluminum, brass, you can do carbon fiber, copper, foam, plastic, rubber, just every, here we are, stainless steel. Hey, 130 bucks for a custom big thing, all shipped and everything? That's quite affordable for that. Before I do the second pass, I'm gonna shrink down this edge wherever it's rippled, so it'll fold over better. So I found before that it increases the arc of this when you hammer them down, but afterward I can put it in the planishing hammer and just kind of, and it straightens back out. That is looking very nice. Obviously still got a ways to go, but this front bit, chef's kiss, as they say. Yeah, that's gonna be perfection. Now that I've got this fender roughly finished, I'm just gonna kind of leave it there and stare at it for a while to decide whether I want to move it up or down, or and contemplate how I'm gonna mount it and stuff. In the meantime, we have a box from Xometry, which means my fancy schmancy radiator guard that I designed.
Ooh, that looks nice.
Look at all those hexagons. Now we get to find out if my designing was adequate. Oh man, that is so nice. Look at that quality.
Yeah, Xometry nailed it again.
They have never disappointed. Radius of the radiator. Did I design it right? Yeah, I think so. Man, that's kind of a miracle. Xometry probably could have even bent these tabs for me, but I didn't want to trust my figuring quite that much. If you need to cut out a super fancy custom mini hexagons radiator guard, or some fancy brake rotors, or just about anything else, head over to xometry.com/grindhard and use code GRIND50 to get $50 off your order of $250 or more. Now through April 24th. Or just click the link in the description. That'll take you there too. Look at that. Just look at it.
That looks awesome.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That's a little big.
Yeah. I don't think that part's girthy enough. The reason for wanting to use this is that it's just a very convenient assembly that has everything in one place. So you got a little filter screen, the fuel pump, and then the regulator is just inside the tank, so it just dumps back into the tank. Whereas if we use an external fuel pump, it has to have a return line back into the tank, which is more holes in the tank and more complication and such. I guess I'll just disassemble this and see if it could be rearranged. I have concluded that I could make this setup work, but it would take vastly longer and would be vastly more complicated. I'm just gonna go ahead and do an external pump, and I'm just gonna use this part here as the regulator, the pressure regulators. This is the inlet side, that's the outlet, the return. So I can just put a hose on here and then make a little adapter to have a hose there. The point is, if I use this, then I don't have to have an adjustable pressure regulator, and I don't have to worry about adjusting it to the right pressure, because this is already set to the right pressure for that engine. So it doesn't really matter what pressure this pump puts out, this will just regulate it to the right pressure. Yeah, so we got a flat one, goes here. That's gonna be the return line up there. Since it doesn't need to be at the bottom of the tank, it's just easier to fit it right here. And then that way it can be kind of a little loop, so it'll come out this one here. And then fuel pump will be somewhere over here. Notice how all of this stuff is going on this side of the bike. Every gram counts for weight balance. Time to poke some holes and then do some welds. While I'm waiting on parts to get here for the fuel system, I'm going to mount the tank, and I want it all to be invisible. So all the mounts will go up from the bottom, and I think I'll mount one right here in the corner underneath the seat, and then two up here somewhere where they're relatively easy to get to. I'm just gonna weld a nut, one of these ones with flanges here. I'm just gonna weld that to the bottom of the tank, use the flange side on the tank, and it'll just bolt on like that. Given that these parts are gonna be welded to the tank, I might actually just make some pieces on the lathe that are a little bit larger in diameter and a little bit taller, so you have more threads and more surface area. That's more like it. Deeper threads, wider, more surface area to weld on the tank, a little flange added to the list of like, what did I say, something like 40 something parts on this that are machined. So I do still want to weigh the tires to get a more accurate number, but I figured before I throw out all this pile of rubber, we should weigh it and see how much rubber we sliced off that tire.
I mean, that's gotta be like 3 pounds at least, right?
Oh, I was gonna guess more like at least 5. Probably more like 7 to 10. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say 7-ish pounds.
Oh yeah, that's more than I thought.
Yeah. All right. 6, 7. Hey! 7 pounds. 7 pounds of weight reduction.
That's not nothing.
That's not nothing. It's really not. That's impressive, right, Bjorn? Yeah, impressive, isn't it? Hi. Yes. Good boy. I got my 3 little bung threaded doodads made, and they look much nicer than a nut, and will be much stronger. So I'm gonna start with this rear one, tack that one on, and I'll put this back on and figure out the location of the front ones. Without further ado, there, I'll just mark one and then make the other one about the same. Little tiny brackets. Look at that cute little guy. Need 2 of those. So, when I designed this tank, we realized that you have to take the tank off to change the air filter. But given that it's just 3 bolts, and the whole thing just pops right off, that's really not bad. I did not account for that when I designed that mount. That's okay. I can fill that with weld. That one though, that fit is mintolicious. This is a hilariously large gap to fill. Oh.
Hey, that doesn't look that bad.
It's not the end of the world.
Seems pretty sturdy.
Yeah, honestly, the weight balance thing, I don't really think it's going to be that much of an issue once you get moving. As mentioned and demonstrated previously with the die from the English wheel, once these wheels are moving at a decent RPM, there'll be a giant gyroscope that does not want to lean. So it'll hold itself up. Well, now the gas tank is actually finished, aside from the finish, if you know what I mean. Because it's not painted yet. So this is how we really find out if there's any leaks here, which in this case I don't really care because we're sealing it anyway. We'll pour out. There's little holes all over this dang thing. Put in some tank seal. Alrighty, time to fill it with some red fluids and slosh it around for a while. This is by far the most complicated shape of tank I've ever sealed.
Seems easier to seal than the jet boat though, because we had to move the whole jet boat around.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a little more complicated. Oh, hey, look. Found a pinhole. Shoop. Draining it out that port on the bottom, but it's incredibly slow. Trying to add a little pressure to the system. While the tank is drying, I'm gonna go ahead and make my little adapter for this thing that I was talking about. I ended up just going simpler with this, and I just bored a hole in that I mean, I guess it's simpler and more complex because that fits there. The O-ring will seal nicely against that. But now I have to weld a little tab on there for a bolt to hold that on. I would just weld straight to this, but I suspect there's rubber bits in there that would probably melt, and that would be bad. So I'm gonna not do that. All the anodization off there. Only gonna be the smallest piece of aluminum I've ever tried to weld. Had to get creative with my clamping here. Got this clamp holding down on the fitting, and then there's no room for any sort of clamp there, so I just took this plate of aluminum here and put it over the edge, and then clamped it down with a bolt to the table. So hopefully I can get a decent weld. There we have it. It's been adapted to an AN fitting.
Turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, I wish I could adapt this side too. And like I said, I'd love to weld to it, but I have a feeling that'll destroy things. Look at there. AN6 line fits perfectly on that. So just need some good hose clamps. So that part's done. Tank is done. Now, I'm gonna work on these clampies and then see about a mounting location for this. So, time to go find some hose. Let's climb aboard.
She.
We're going on an adventure. Ah, oh yes. Non-braided single wall. That might be the trick. Nice. So at first I wasn't sure if I liked the way that looked, but I trimmed a bunch of the extra rubber off, and now that looks fairly reasonable. I just kind of zip tied it on here to be able to look at it, and I think I actually like that. At first I was thinking maybe it'd be kind of ugly being that visible. I do think I'll paint it black eventually with a bunch of AN lines all plumbed up to it. It'll look really nice. And it's just a good spot, so the line from the tank can come straight up to here. Very nice. This piston is too small and or too short of a throw to move all, what, 8 of these pistons? I mean, it makes sense. One tiny piston, 8 big pistons. Not gonna be enough. Let's go out to the scrap yards, see what we can find for rear brake. I also wanted to see what master cylinder I have on the Hayabusa. It's out here in the woods. Aha, there we go. There's the Hayabusa rear. Complete with brake lever too, so that's handy. I just want to know where the heck the frickin' reservoirs go from these. I'm gonna blame Will. I feel like he would have stolen that. I'll just put both the brakes on the handlebars. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Yeah, I think that's safe to say that's pretty decent. Cruising along. Vroom, 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 vroom. You hit the brakes and whoop, it squats. And suddenly there's more weight on the rear tire. Apparently there was actually some old dirt bikes that had that as a feature, where when you hit the rear brake, it would soften up. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but it would soften up the rear suspension and make it squat to give you a little bit more traction on the rear when you hit the brakes. So, while I'm at this, I figured I might as well make a mount for this here brake lever. So this is the bolt that holds it on. It's already has a bearing mounted in it, which is pretty nifty. So I'm just gonna make a threaded bung that'll fit inside of there and around this bolt. and then I can just make a little, either weld that straight to the frame or make a little tab or whatever. So I have a chunk left over in the lathe already. It's the right size. That's the right size. Just like that, we have a threaded bung. Look at that. Mint. Like it was made for it. Oh. Wait a minute. It was made for it. And this is why you never throw out your spare hexagons, because this might be the trick to solve both the mounting and the distance problem. See, I need it to stick out a little bit farther to clear the engine case. And if I use this hexagon like so, then that spaces it out. The only problem is I'm running into it right there with this Heim joint. I'll get back to you when I have a solution, but it may involve spare hexagons.
Well, must have decided to go with the hexagon mount.
Yeah. I think it'll look cool and be plenty strong and solve a couple of my problems. I got 99 problems, but a hexagon ain't one of them. Wow, my jokes are getting really bad. Yeah, that seems about perfect. And there we have it. A brake pedal that doesn't do anything yet except go floppy floppy. I even found a little spring here that fits rather well to that piece of, reinforcement there. And I think this came out looking rather nice. And all I did is I just made a little bit of a swoop in that edge there so that this can rest in it. And that's the perfect position for that pedal to stop for your foot to hit it. Once I have some master cylinders to mess with, I can mount those, and I think I'll mount it kind of leaned back. Let's see. Imaginarily here. Yeah, no, I don't think I could quite get away with that because it'd be too much upward motion. So it'll probably have to mount more like, something like that. Anyway, onward to mounting the fender. Playing with cardboard here and making little blades of grass. We've been talking about different ideas here with 1 or 2 or asymmetrical. Like 1 right down the middle could be kind of cool, but as mentioned, that doesn't really work because this and this get closer as the suspension travels, so that would severely limit that. Given that this whole bike is kind of an exercise in asymmetry, I kind of like the idea of just having 1. And it'd be easier to do it on this side because this bar is much closer there. I think honestly having it extend nearly to the end would add quite a bit of strength. And when you look at it from the side too, it kind of makes the fender get thicker visually, which kind of because it tapers in this dimension, and now it can also kind of visually taper in that dimension. And I think that kind of adds to the look as well. So some of my fittings and parts for the fuel system arrived, And I've got this sweet little thing, a little 10 micron fuel filter that, you know, is just in line with AN fittings and everything. And in my piles of fittings, I found a way to adapt it to just like that. So it kind of attaches along with the fuel pump. I think that's the cleanest look I've found for the fuel pump and filter combo. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice right there.
I think that's a good spot.
Yeah. Plumbing this up here, and I also ordered a couple of these, which are fancy double shut-off quick disconnects. That was a weird way to demonstrate it, but it's a quick disconnect that when you disconnect it, as the name implies, it shuts off the flow on both sides. So I'm gonna put that in line here in this line, and then wherever the return line is, so that you can just go pop, pop, and then pull the tank off. Because given that you have to do that to change the air filter and access like literally anything underneath there, it'd be really annoying if you had to like drain the fuel every time. Yeah, so just running some lines, get that all sorted, and then back to the future. I mean, fender. If you just play with spiders, Will freaks out.
No, do not pick him up, bro.
Here, you gotta get it on something small, and then it'll get on you. Here, and then you can just look at this. Look at the little spider. Just a little guy. Look at the spider. Will. Look at the spider. He just wants to be friends.
No! No!
So, I can't finish it until I get the T fitting that I ordered to plumb in the pressure regulator. But this section of it is finished, and I think that looks rather nice. Well, aside from the crimp rings, which those should be showing up in the same order. I think that's nice and clean, simple. We got our quick disconnect. We can pull the tank off. It's all easily accessible. While I'm waiting for that, I will finish the fender mounts. Speaking of which, I fiddled with this a bit more the other night. Mounting this one point isn't that strong, so I started fiddling with some stuff. And I came up with this 2 asymmetrically sized support fins thing, and I really like the way it looks. And I even have this one running like a couple inches long past the point of the fender. And I think that looks really cool too. So one of them, this little one, it can't be longer because of this, as we were talking about before, with the suspension travel that would run into it. So I think I really like that look. Of course, there'll be some holes for weight reductions. Now I think it's pretty much time to turn the cardboard CAD into computer CAD. I just drew some little marks on here, and now I'm gonna use those marks to get the numbers for my CAD. Also, someone sent us a little mouse. People have been commenting about my using the trackpad for CAD for years, and somebody got fed up and sent us a mouse. So thank you, and I'm gonna try it out. Oh, look at that! It works.
Wow, that was instant.
Cannot be identified. Will not be usable until it's identified. I'm currently using it.
Also, I was going to comment on how many pieces you've made on this CAD file.
Oh yeah, this is pretty much almost all of the chopper pieces, and there's actually quite a few that aren't on there, but that's most of the pieces that are on the chopper. Making a bunch of circles. I think that's gonna look pretty cool.
That's going to look awesome.
Well, that took forever to design, drawing all these little progressively smaller circles and making them all proportional and all of that, and then I also drew these little, you can see how it's sort of serrated on the bottom. That's so that I can just weld just those points and have like an obvious point to weld. We'll take it over to the arc droid and see if I can cut it out first try. It's kind of a big piece. Time to find out how well this cuts.
Oh, that came out nice.
It really did. Let's see how good the radius is. Not bad. It looks like a dinosaur tail, kind of like a robot.
Yeah.
Or a sword. Yeah. That's awesome. What it looks like is an alien tail, like from the alien
From the
movies.
alien movie? Yeah, it does.
Slag. That's one of the coolest looking parts I've ever cut out.
I think so too.
Look, I made Mickey Mouse. Did a bit of adjustment. So, last night I got the other one of these designed up and tacked on. So it looks a little different where it meets the tube just because it's farther away. So now I just have to make the tube side of that. Goes to there. And weld that on. And then the fender will be mounted. I think it looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah, I like it. It's very swoopy and choppery and asymmetrical, which is something I'm not generally very good at, but this whole bike is an exercise in asymmetry. So, minty fresh. You just kind of hold it like that. Maybe even a smidgen past center so that it'll kind of spring back after I weld it. We'll see. Hold that while I tack the bracket.
Oh, this is looking good.
Thanks.
I'm
Yeah,
stoked about this.
it's looking nice. Yeah.
Nice glasses, man.
Thanks, man. They're very nice. They shield my eyes.
Well, do more tacks, because right now it's just a couple of them, and we'll see if that makes it any more rigid. If not, we'll have to get creative with some more bracings. That is not strong.
And it's so close to the tire, you wouldn't want to like bring it around and then get.
Well, and it just looked dumb if you're going down the road and your fender's going. This is the really irritating part. When I weld it, it warps all the heck. It was such a nice, smooth fender. This may look very strange, but what I'm trying to do is smooth out this bottom bit here. Because right now, it pulled this in sort of here, so it kind of messed with the shape. And I knew that was going to happen. I'm just trying to figure out how to get it to flatten back out. It's still got a little bit of a swoop to it, right where this is welded on. But I was able to change the shape considerably by simply hitting the top of this with this wooden mallet. Just watch it change shape as I whack it. You can see this end lifting up with a few hits of the mallet. It just caused it to lift right up. Just a little bit of rub.
It's just one burnout away from fitting perfectly, though.
No, I just need to fine tune it a little bit because like it looks good through here, except I mean this is still a little floppy, but up at the front here it kind of gaps out more. I mean it's kind of asymmetrical side to side, so it's just a little bit of fine tuning and we'll get there. We'll get there.